Good evening, everyone. It is Steve Lookner with Right Side Broadcasting coming to you tonight with a special primetime live stream. We wanted to come on the air because if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I was pretty astounded by this correction that ABC News issued just in the last hour or so about a major allegation. To me, really the major allegation of the day was made by ABC News, and they issued a correction of it. They're not even calling it a correction. They're calling it a clarification. And it's very embarrassing to me. It's horrible reporting. It's very shoddy. And this is stuff I said in my tweets too. But I really thought it was important to let people know about it and also just report on it. It's an important story to me and to Right Side Broadcasting. And we wanted to come on and give you a live stream about it and let you hear about it and let you hear what you have to say about this story. So let me just make sure there's a correction of it. They're good. Audio working. Also, we had some issues with our streams earlier today where there were weird like black screens and pictures, I'm not kidding you, of like rectangles with different colors coming up over our stream. So if that happens again, please bear with us. Joe, the CEO, is recording the stream. So if there are problems, he will send it to YouTube. But just know, I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But be prepared for weird stuff to happen because weird stuff was happening with our streams earlier today. But if you see a kind of black screen or a weird shape, it'll hopefully be gone in a few seconds and we'll still be here streaming. So let's talk about the story, and thank you to the moderators for being with us tonight, both on in the YouTube chat and on the website. Moderators we have in the YouTube chat, JC is here and Real Frank is here. So appreciate all of your help moderating. And Jude is here as well. Okay, so let's talk about this story and about this allegation and about this ABC correction. So if you were watching our coverage earlier today, we talked about this tweet a couple times on the air, this report from ABC, because it was an important report and a lot of people were talking about it. So around 11 in the morning at some point, let me show you here. This was, now it says 8:10 a.m. here. Oh, thank you, LJ Jackson, for the donation. LJ Jackson made a donation. We are viewer supported. So if you like this if you like that we're doing a story on this and you like that you have an alternative to the mainstream media and you want to support us, your donations keep us on the air. You can do what LJ Jackson did and go to the bottom of the YouTube chat and just click on the dollar sign if you'd like to make a donation, or rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. Again, your donations help keep us on the air, allow us to do this kind of stream. So, recapping, let's do a little recap here. So, this morning, around 11 a.m., ABC News on the air and in this tweet, which ended up getting, I can see if I can show you this. I'll show you later. Before it was deleted, it had over 32,000 likes and about 25,000 retweets, 24,600 or so retweets. Anyways, I think it was over 25,000 when it got deleted. Anyways, they came out with this report, and it says, just in, Brian Ross, who's the person you see on your screen, Brian Ross on ABC News, special report, Michael Flynn promised full cooperation with the Mueller team and is prepared to testify that as a candidate, Donald Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians. Now, the key in this report was as a candidate. Because Michael Flynn today, he pled guilty to lying about 2 conversations he had with the Russian ambassador. But those conversations were both during the transition. They were both after President Trump had won the election. And according to court documents, in both cases, somebody from the Trump team directed him to have this conversation. Later reporting has suggested that in one case it was Jared Kushner who told him to talk to the Russian ambassador. In the other case, it was KT McFarland. But larger point here is the only conversations we heard about in that Michael Flynn admitted to lying about were conversations during the transition after the election. And as we talked about this morning, nothing about those conversations seems to suggest there was any election collusion at all. Because those conversations that Michael Flynn had and that he lied about to the FBI were where one of them was trying to get Russia to delay or stop a UN Security Council vote condemning Israel. One of them was trying to get Russia to moderate its reaction to Obama's announcing new sanctions on Russia, but which were sanctions because of alleged Russian meddling. But my point is, neither of those conversations shows that there was election collusion. So, but when this report came out, it was a huge deal because it was like, whoa, Michael Flynn is not just saying that he was told to talk to the Russians during the transition. Michael Flynn's going to tell Mueller that during the election, while President Trump was a candidate, Donald Trump told him to talk to the Russians. Now, as I said on the air earlier today, even if this was true, I said a number of times, even if this was true, even that wouldn't show there was collusion, because for all you know, if it had happened, President Trump could have said something like, look, we want to have better relations with the Russians, which he said during the campaign, so go talk to them about something. But, you know, a lot of people thought, whoa, this is big, because if Donald Trump was telling Michael Flynn to go talk to the Russians during the election, maybe that suggests some kind of coordination that was going on during the election. I believe Donald Trump has denied telling anybody to talk to the Russians during the election. So anyways, so there was, I'm not positive on that, but my point is that the two things I was hearing is like, two major things people could say would be like, whoa, if Donald Trump was directing Michael Flynn to make contact with the Russians during the election, that might seem to suggest some kind of election collusion is going on, maybe circumstantial evidence for it. Also, you might think, whoa, maybe Donald Trump wasn't upfront with us about the contact between his campaign and the Russians if he was telling General Flynn during the campaign to talk to the Russians. You know, that would seem pretty odd. So this was a huge deal. This report was a giant deal that, according to ABC, according to Brian Ross, Michael Flynn was going to tell the Mueller team that as a candidate during the election campaign, Donald Trump told him to go talk to the Russians. And I was even thinking today, like, and it wasn't even clear. And it wasn't even clear if he talked to the Russians during the campaign, what he was talking about. Because again, the two conversations with the Russian ambassador we heard about this morning were during the transition. So people were, you know, were wondering why did President Trump want General Flynn to talk to the Russians during the campaign? What could this conversation have been about? We know of no such conversation right now. So this was a giant story. And I remember, and I thought I had said it on the air, and it turns out I didn't say it on the air. I kept saying on the air, even if this is true, and I thought I'd said it on the air, and I thought it in my mind, but I never said it on the air. But my thought is this report, when it came out, sounded a little fishy to me, because what we heard in the court, in the document that came out today from the federal court that listed, or sorry, not from the federal court. I don't know if the federal court released it or Mueller released it. But anyways, the statement of charges against General Flynn that came out today, we knew from that document that the Mueller investigators were saying they had evidence that somebody from the Trump administration had told General Flynn to go talk to the Russians during the transition. So there was a lot of, you know, it was out there today. It was part of this story today that General Flynn had been told to talk to the Russians during the transition. Then when I saw this report, this new report that General Flynn had been told to talk to the Russians by Donald Trump during the campaign, I had seen that nowhere else. It was such a bombshell. And I thought to myself, and then as time went, and I wasn't seeing it anywhere else. And I thought to myself, wow, this would be such a huge bombshell. And also, you know, what came out in that court report today, what came out in the statement of charges today, if you really read the statement of charges, what you saw is that General Flynn was told to talk to the Russians during the transition by somebody in the Trump team. So I had this thought, well, since no one else is reporting on this story, and it seems a bit odd that all of a sudden we'd have this bombshell story that Donald Trump ordered General Flynn to talk to the Russians during the campaign, and we do have this we do have this statement of charges that, if you read it, that was released today, says General Flynn was told by somebody in the Trump team to talk to the Russians during the transition, I did think, well, maybe what happened here is it was some sort of mix-up, and rather what somebody misread something, and really what this report is based on is the claim in the statement of charges that somebody in the Trump administration ordered General Flynn told General Flynn to talk to the Russians during the transition. So I just thought it was weird, and it seemed like, and no one was reporting this, and I was like, wow, that's a really big charge, but I was a little suspicious of it. Okay, so I've explained this charge, but as it turns out, and this was a huge deal. This was such a big deal. How big a deal was it? The stock market had a big decline when this report came out. Check this out. Look at this. This is from Fortune magazine. ABC published a report on Flynn's full cooperation at 11:06 a.m. That's the one I just showed you. That's this. That's the full cooperation report they published. And look what happened when they published it. Stocks, ABC's report publishes, stocks went way down. They went down about, I think it was, well, it looks like here they say it was a couple hundred points, but I remember seeing it down like several hundred points, at least in the 200s before. So anyways, stocks did go down, though, you can see, and a number of outlets reported on how stocks went down right after this report. And you know, I do think that a significant reason the stocks went down is not just that we heard that Flynn, it's not just that the report said Flynn's going to say to Mueller that Trump told him to talk to the Russians. It was candidate Trump. Remember, that's such a key word. This report said that Trump as a candidate told General Flynn to talk to the Russians during the election, which would be a big deal. So this report came out. It was this big bombshell. The stocks went down, and I got to say, I was watching that, and it seemed to me like that was the big allegation from the day, the biggest one, because if it was true that President Trump told General Flynn to talk to the Russians during the election campaign, and we had no idea what this was about, that seems like there was going to be a lot more story there to get into, and who knows what that could have led to. So, and that was something we had not heard before. So that was pretty, you know, because during the transition, once President Trump is elected, you can imagine it's normal for Trump administration officials to reach out to officials from different countries, because in a couple months he's going to be president. So it's one thing to have officials from the transition president talk to foreign countries, but to have the candidate telling, you know, General Flynn to talk to Russia during the election, that seemed a little odd and definitely possibly very significant. But so this was the allegation ABC made. It was a huge bombshell. Stocks went down once they reported it. Huge thing. But it turns out it wasn't true. It wasn't true. Amazing. So that's what we're going to talk about next. We're going to talk to you about how this report was not true. But before I do that, I just want to say we're going to take your comments in a few minutes. So if you have comments on this story, write to me at @Lookner on Twitter, @Lookner on Twitter, @LOOKNER. Also, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube so you get notified when we're coming on the air with these live news broadcasts. And click the notifications bell when you subscribe to us on YouTube. And also, thanks again to the moderators for moderating the chat rooms tonight. And if you want to support Right Side Broadcasting, we are viewer supported. We can only stay on the air because you guys donate to us. So we really appreciate the donations. If you want to donate during the broadcast, go to the bottom of the YouTube chat and click on the little dollar sign there at the bottom of the YouTube chat, or go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. Okay, so I told you about this accusation that ABC News made. I told you how it sent the stocks way down, and it was this big bombshell accusation that lots of people were talking about. But now we're going to talk about how it turned out to be false. So what happened is, the first I heard of this, Oliver Darcy, who reports on the media for CNN, has actually done an excellent job on this tonight. He's a senior media reporter at CNN. And I initially heard about this because Oliver Darcy, he's one of the few people I've seen reporting on this mistake. So let's see if I can find it here. 3 hours ago, he posted this. It says, ABC News spokesperson tells me that World News will clarify that this should be President-elect Trump, not candidate Trump. Clarify. Now, this is a huge deal because, as I mentioned in the original, now the tweet, they've now deleted the tweet. That's why it says the tweet's unavailable, because ABC about an hour ago deleted the tweet. But here's the original tweet. And as I said before, the big thing in the original tweet was that as a candidate, Donald Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians. It's not nearly as big a deal if Donald Trump did this during the transition after President Trump had won the election. But look, Oliver Darcy 3 hours ago said, ABC News spokesperson tells me that World News will clarify that this should be President-elect Trump, not candidate Trump. Well, if it's President-elect Trump, that changes everything. Then the allegation isn't nearly so big anymore. But it's even here, it's funny that the ABC News spokesperson told Oliver Darcy they called it a clarification. It's not a clarification, it's a correction. Clarifying is when you take something that's a little vague and you flesh it out more and you flesh out more details. Or you take something that's ambiguous between a couple different meanings and you say, no, it means this. When you admit something was wrong and you change your story when you change a story from a false claim to a true claim, or supposedly to true claim, that's not clarifying, that's correcting. So ABC News saying it's clarifying is just misleading. And they've stuck to the clarifying word, and I'll show you that in a little bit. So that's the first I saw of this. And then, let's see, let me keep going here. And as Oliver Darcy said, we were just saying this too, it's a big distinction between President Trump telling General Flynn to do this during the election and President Trump telling General Flynn to contact the Russians after the election. As Oliver Darcy points out as well, look, oh yes, there it is, Dow down 350 points. See? So the Dow went down 350 points after that false ABC News report came out. There you can see it. So there. Okay. So now, look, then Brian Ross, this reporter, Brian Ross, who's up there, he's the one who made the original report. Then on World News Tonight, on ABC Tonight, he read on air a clarification. And that's why Oliver Darcy says clarification. Here, look, and he said clarification on the air. So this is what Brian Ross said on the air. David, a clarification tonight on something one of Flynn's confidants told us and we reported earlier today. He said the president had asked Flynn to contact Russia during the campaign. He's now clarifying that, saying, according to Flynn, a candidate Trump asked him during the campaign to find ways. Wait, what is it? He's now clarifying that, saying, according to Flynn, candidate Trump asked him during the campaign to find ways to repair relations with Russia. I see. He's now saying that, according to Flynn, candidate Trump asked him during the campaign to find ways to repair relations with Russia and other world hotspots. And then after the election, the president-elect asked him to contact Russia on issues including working together to fight ISIS. Now, look at, first of all, they call this a clarification. It's really a correction. Second of all, what ABC and Brian Ross do here is they blame this source. They blame this Trump confidant. And I posted a tweet about this. They don't say we messed up. What they say basically is, oh, our source messed up. Our source told us one thing and then told us another thing. So they don't say they totally throw the source under the bus. They don't blame themselves. They blame the source. What they could have just said is, look, we got to correct something. We're really sorry. We gave you a report earlier that said Michael Flynn was going to tell Mueller that Trump, as a candidate, told Flynn to talk to the Russians. Turns out that's not, our report was false. All we've heard is that Trump is actually going to, Flynn is going to tell Mueller that Trump, during the transition, told Flynn to talk to the Russians. They could have just said that. But what Brian Ross does is he goes on the air and he says it's a clarification and never uses the word correction and then blames it all on their source rather than just saying that they messed up, which I thought was really dumb. Okay, so that happened. And then ABC did delete the tweet, and then they issued another correction on Twitter. And as Oliver Darcy says, and there it is, and ABC News still was calling this a clarification. So they posted this tweet at 7:56 p.m. and they still said, in big capital letters, clarification. They don't say correction, they say clarification. Clarification of ABC News special report. President Flynn prepared to testify that President-elect Donald Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians during the transition in asterisks. Initially as a way to work together to fight ISIS in Syria, Confident now says. And they're still blaming the confidant. They're blaming this source. They don't just say we messed up and we have to correct something. They call it a clarification and they blame the source, which is really gutless to me. And it's just also misleading. It's ridiculous. So anyways, good reporting by Oliver Darcy on this again. Oh, look, Oliver Darcy works for CNN, but he did great reporting. He was the only one I saw reporting on this tonight prominently. So good job, Oliver Darcy. Let's see here. And then Oliver Darcy also posted this. He said, ABC News correction to bombshell Flynn report came after I contacted them to ask why Brian Ross's initial reporting wasn't in the network's online story. Now, I don't know if CNN reaching out to ABC News caused them to correct the story. Maybe they were working on a correction of it. Well, they didn't correct it, they clarified it. But anyways, if you want to read Oliver Darcy's tweets and the CNN story on this, you can go to that link at Oliver Darcy's Twitter feed. But there we have it. So we have this huge story came out today, this huge allegation about President Trump from ABC News and Brian Ross. The stock market went down 350 points right after it came out. It was, to me, the big allegation of the day. And then hours and hours later, ABC News issues a clarification, not even a correction, where they blame their source for the false story, not themselves. So that's really what happened on this story. I don't know if you have any comments on it, but it's pretty nuts to me. And that's one thing I posted on Twitter. And I want to just say again, to me, when I heard this story, to me, if you were following the story today and you read, like, you know, the statement of charges that came out against General Flynn, you would have had, when you first heard the ABC report, I think you would have been reasonably hesitant to believe it. You might have been like, well, this could be true, but it seems big. Maybe there's a mistake going on here. And it was such a big story and like so different than what was reported before. And there was an easy mistake it could have been. To me, that would prompt you to, like, if you're at a news organization, to just really make sure about this story. And apparently they didn't do a very good job of correcting this story. Now they're going to claim, maybe they claim, well, our source messed up, or of confirming the story. And they might say, well, our source messed up. But if they're only relying on one source and they're not confirming, I don't know. To me, it was from the beginning. It was a story that when you first heard it, seemed like it might have been a mistake, and that, to me, that would warrant extra confirmation work on this story. Now, maybe they did extra confirmation work. I have a hard time believing they did, however, given that they ended up correcting it hours later. But they didn't correct it. They clarified it. Clarification. So anyways, but if you follow me on Twitter, you know I often see, and I report it on my Twitter. Mainstream media just makes just huge factual errors, and I don't know if they ever get called on for it at the office when this happens. But I try to point them out when I see them. And look what Oliver Darcy says. He also says, a good reminder here on why it is best to get two sources when reporting, particularly when it is a bombshell report like this. And I would add to this, particularly when the story is such that it seems like there could have been a mistake made. It seems like there's a mix-up that could have been made, which is suggested by other things you heard during the day. And to me, given what else we heard during the day, there was a mix-up that you could see it might have been. By the way, I hope what happened is ABC really. I hope what happened is ABC didn't just mess up themselves, and this whole thing about a source changing his story isn't just a cover for somebody messing up. We'll probably never know that, but I hope that's the case. I hope they're not making up this thing about, oh, the source changed the story. That's why we got it wrong. Not that we just messed up. So anyways. All right, so I want to get to your comments on this. What do you guys think about this ABC correction? Write to me on Twitter. Let me know at Lookner on Twitter. I want to read some of your comments on this. P-Cell writes in, there should be an accountability for such fake news. This nonsense and the determination to undermine the government could lead to chaos and destruction. And some people complain when some people use the term fake news. But, I mean, look, this was a big story that came out that turned out to be false. So, in this case, it would seem like that's not a crazy thing to call it. Thanks, P-Cell, for writing in. Let's see here. JC, you sent me like a comment from somebody and I don't even know what it really means with the non-GMO or whatever. I can't figure that out, JC. Feel free to write back and explain. One of our moderators, JC, wrote. Let's see here. I want to get to some more of your. Hang on, I have to write myself a note here. No to the Mark writes, what do you think of a network blocking citizens? And I guess No to the Mark was blocked by ABC News. Now, I can't say because I don't know what the circumstances were of this specific case. I do think in general, news networks and public figures in general and journalists should go out of their way to not block people. Now, if somebody's being very abusive or offensive or something, then fine. But I think, I've had things where I have been blocked by, say, a journalist. Who was it who did this? What's his name? The guy on... He works for NBC and he has a very big, very liberal Twitter feed. What's his name? I can't remember. And he blocked me, and it was because I basically posted a tweet saying like something to the effect of, hey, these NBC people are pushing this story, but they're doing it in a bit of misleading way or something. Like it wasn't offensive and it wasn't like persistent. It was just like a tweet or two talking about something I'd seen on the news and seeing in people's Twitter feeds. And he blocked me because of that. So that's the kind of stuff I don't really like. 'Cause it's like, if you're a public figure, go out of your way to not block people. If you can. So that's my general thought on it. But I can't speak to the specific case because I don't know it. Dave McDonald writes in, I'm sorry, but that's a little more than just a mistake. They reach millions of viewers and have just released 100% fake news. Everybody needs to retweet this. And something about that it's always, and a lot of you, I'm not telling you anything original here, but so many times what happens with false reports on Twitter is the original tweet gets like so many more retweets and likes and is read by so many more people than the correction. So, for example, look, this clarification, which is really a correction that ABC put out about it, has 2,700 retweets. 2,700 retweets. The original. And I bet a bunch of those retweets are from people who don't think President Trump did anything wrong. So that's But what I was going to say is 2,710 retweets. The original tweet about the original report, when it was deleted, had approximately 25,000 retweets. So 25,000 retweets for the original. 2,700 retweets and 10 for the corrected version. That happens a lot. Sharon writes in, huge factual errors are fake news, and that is what the mainstream media is all about. No to the Mark says, Brian Ross, Mr. Not Credible. Death in a Toyota. Shooter was a Tea Party person. The guy is a pathological liar. So what No to the Mark I think is referring to is, Frank Luntz, actually, from Fox, posted a tweet earlier tonight that I retweeted. Hang on one second, and I'll pull it up for you. So Frank Luntz posted this tweet as a story from Gawker about Brian Ross, entitled "America's Wrongest Reporter, Brian Ross." A quote that Frank Luntz gave from it was, "Never ever listen to anything Brian Ross reports unless and until it has been confirmed by another better reporter." And in the story itself, Gawker, this was from 2012, but Gawker talks about several false reports Brian Ross has done. And one of them was a report, for example, let's read this here. He reported after the James Holmes movie theater mass shooting that some Tea Party guy on the internet had the same name as the shooter. He reported that on the air, and Ross ran it through his extensive network of plugged-in sources, Google, and came up with this nugget, which he relayed live on the air to Good Morning America's millions and millions of viewers. George Stephanopoulos said, "I want to go to Brian Ross here because, Brian, you've been investigating the background of Jim Holmes, who was the shooter in that movie theater several years ago, and you found something that might be significant." And Brian Ross said, "There's a Jim Holmes of Aurora, Colorado page on the Colorado Tea Party site as well, talking about him joining the Tea Party last year. Now, we don't know if this is the same Jim Holmes, but it's a Jim Holmes of Aurora, Colorado." And then the article goes on to say, "There's some guy with the internet with the same name. That's literally all Ross had. No other connection. Not one reason to even remotely suspect that it's the same Holmes. Just that there is a guy with that name on the internet. That astonishingly stupid speculation led the geniuses at Breitbart to rebut the calumny with their own guy named James Holmes. This one a registered Democrat. So there. But so they're just saying that this was a false report by Brian Ross, and it was shoddy reporting. And they talk about several other reports by Brian Ross, which they say were false and shoddy. So that's, if you want to read that, you can Google that. It's a Gawker article. And it's on my Twitter feed. I retweeted Frank Luntz's tweet about it. You can go to @Lookner on my Twitter feed and read it. But that was, Brian Ross was the one who made that report today about President Trump that turned out to be wrong. So let me get to your messages here. Oh, I see. We got one of the people in the chat room, Joshua Sr., said RSBN isn't just a nothing burger. And we've got the non-GMO bar, which means not fake news. Well, thank you, Joshua. I'm glad you're liking the programming. We try to be straight here with you. You know, one thing we're not going to do here is tell you things we think are false, and we correct things when we get them wrong. So, Edie Marie Trump says, regarding ABC, they're doing it on purpose. They do it right at the peak of the Flynn breaking news when everyone's paying attention, because that's mostly what people who want Trump to fail will remember, not the correction. Reminder, Brian Ross blamed the Colorado movie shooting on a Tea Party member. Thanks for explaining everything to us, Steve. It really helps. Thank you for writing in, Edie Marie for Trump. Adit Mehta writes, two-prong issue with corrections. One, readers don't pay attention, possibly blatant ignorance to fit ideological narrative. Two, mainstream media outlets don't publicize corrections at the same level as the original story. I agree with you there. Like in other industries, media corporations try to minimize mistakes. You know, I can guarantee you, I haven't done an exhaustive search of all the media tonight and today, but I can pretty much guarantee you that way more attention was paid to the original Brian Ross report about President Trump with that allegation than has been paid to the correction tonight put out by ABC. So I agree with you there, Adit Mehta. Will Koo says, wait a minute, what about all the people Trump has blocked? So the comment I made before is I said public figures, all I said was public figures should go out of their way to err on the side of not blocking people. And that applies to everyone. So I wasn't saying I wasn't talking about any specific public figure. I believe for all public figures, they should only block someone on their Twitter if they feel like, if it's like extreme case where the person is just, you know, saying like awful, hateful, racist, terrible things, which are offensive to everybody who reads the Twitter feed and that kind of thing. You know, I think otherwise, even if people criticize you, you know, let them criticize. You're a public figure. That's my view. Michael Cook says, wish I could see the face on that red-headed witch from The View's face after the correction was released. I'm not sure exactly who you're talking about. I don't watch The View regularly, Michael. And why you're mentioning that person? Did they talk about this report on the air, Michael Cook? Maybe you're saying you were watching it today and they were talking about it on the air. ASG says, were you influenced by the Russians? I don't know what you're getting at, ASG. I haven't spoken to any people from Russia during the campaign or during the transition or during the Trump administration. Keck Magician sent me a tweet where, what is it? Let's see. So this is something Keck Magician sent me, and look, I have no evidence that this is true, but I'll show it to you anyway. I've seen some people saying online, hey, could this have been done? You know, some people are saying like, hey, you know, some people made money on this thing because if you knew this report was going to come out, they could make money off of it. So Keck Magician has sent me this tweet from somebody named MAGA Clive, where it basically just says people were made money on this report because I guess the idea is that you buy stock short and you put fake news out and you make money when the market drops. I have no evidence that that happened. But I have seen some people asking out there, hey, does this have anything to do, you know, if you knew this report was coming out? Now somebody might claim, well, even if you knew the report was coming out, you might not necessarily know that the stock market was going to drop on the base of it. So I have no evidence that short selling was related to this at all. But I appreciate you writing in, Keck Magician. Linda Belk says, the ABC story is a non-correction correction. They are weaseling out of telling the truth. Stefan says they're digging their own grave with this Russia nonsense. Who is still watching mainstream media these days? Oh, let's see. So I guess Joy Behar. I'm not going to show this because I don't know where this video was taken from, so I don't want to show you video and then get like in trouble because I showed you copyrighted video that we weren't supposed to show. But there was a video sent to me by a viewer. What a World sent me this tweet, and I'm not gonna play the video because I'm not sure exactly where the video. This person might have taken the video off the TV, and then we get in trouble for showing it. But What a World sent me this. It says, oh, hold on, let me pose it. Joy Behar cheering the Flynn news this morning is a good case study for how partisans disseminate information. She has only the smallest, most basic idea of what has happened, and she treats it as a game changer anyway. You wonder how fake news spreads. Watch. Let me just check this for a second. Let's see what it actually, how long it actually is.
Oh, breaking.
I want to show it, but I can't show it right now because, again, we can't just show a clip of something that's not. If the show posted this clip, then I can show it to you. But if it's somebody who like stole it off a TV and screen captured it, we'd get in trouble for showing that. So I can't show you that right now. If you find somebody finds this clip posted by like The View, let me know. But anyways, so I apologize for not being able to show you that. But we have to do things the right way here. Beth Trojanowski says, the stock market drop is just a small sample of what will happen if President Trump is impeached. It will bottom out big time depression. Oh, Andy T says, if you go to Joy V. Behar on Twitter, we can see her talking about this. Thank you, Andy T. Oh, good. It's on Joy Behar. We can show it. The View did tweet it out. Here we go. So this is Joy Behar. It's long. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but this is her getting the news about Michael Flynn, I think about the ABC News report. Let's see. Hold on a second.
Welcome back to the show.
Breaking news.
Oh, my God. Oh, breaking news. ABC News' Brian Ross is reporting Michael Flynn promised full cooperation to the Mueller team and is prepared to testify that as a candidate, Donald Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians. Yeah!
Wow. Can I just say, I guess The View and ABC don't care about half the audience who could watch a show like this, who maybe is Republican and or supports President Trump, that they're fine with just having a hostile environment for roughly half the country. It always amuses me when I see shows on major networks like that, where they don't even make the most minimal effort to not be hostile to like half of the country. Anyways, let's continue this a little bit.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, and it's beginning to look a lot like collusion.
This was like, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car reaction from the audience, by the way.
He goes to jail, he goes to jail, he goes to jail. Lock him up! Lock them up!
Take this moment, Joy. Take this moment. I give it to you.
You know what? You know what this is for me? This is the antithesis of election night.
First day of Hanukkah.
No.
She can rip off her black veil.
Festival of lights. Am I going to
All
do
right,
my joke now?
I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you can go see the remaining 6 minutes and 23 seconds if you want on The View. Go at The View and you can watch it for yourself. That was pretty amazing. But, you know. Look, I'm not saying people on these shows can't have their leanings, but it really, that show, if you just watch that clip, that's a hostile environment. If you watch that and you're a Trump supporter, you feel like you're being made fun of, that it's hostile to you. The Daily Show is the same way. And it's like they just don't care. I mean, it wouldn't be hard. There's a way of doing that and expressing that you might be happy without like that, and also having a bit more of a balanced view. But no one seems to care that about that kind of show with that kind of attitude on a national network. Anyways, amazing. Thank you, Andy T, for letting me know that was actually posted on the View Twitter, and thank you for the original viewer who wrote in about that clip. What a world. Thanks, guys. Harbor Senior says this fake story was no accident. Okay, I think, I didn't check my email. Let's see here. Greg, see, I checked my email, Greg, so I got your email. Greg Jackson wrote in. Let's see, Greg. Special Counsel Robert Mueller called on the Trump administration to hand over documents in relation to in relation to Michael Flynn back in August. Mueller demanded the documents in order to investigate potential secret payments to Flynn by the Turkish government. And then Greg says, how interesting that all the investigations into Flynn's activities began after he wrote an article about the Gulen Network, which has ties to the Clinton Foundation and supported by government agencies. Given the government's influence by the Muslim Brotherhood and Gulen's own attachment to that philosophy, says a great deal. It was Mueller who used the state secret service privilege to put a gag order on the investigation, retroactively classifying congressional records. WikiLeaks exposed this. Diplomatic cables released by WikiLeaks demonstrate a concern by U.S. officials that these Turkish teachers and businesses might be using the reputation of the school as a cover to get to the U.S. These cables state that the H-1B visa applications were not convincing and that Gulen's more moderate message cloaks a more sinister and radical agenda. Then Greg says, receiving approximately $150 million a year in tax breaks and subsidies, government officials are increasingly concerned that taxpayer dollars are being used to fund a close-knit network of Turkish teachers and businesses using charter schools as a Trojan horse for embedding into the U.S. education system. So is Mueller using the Russian investigation and going after Flynn to cover up a decade of criminal activity he was party to? That's from Greg Jackson. I owe Greg an apology. Greg had sent in a couple emails during our earlier stream today, and that was the stream, the Michael Flynn stream, where we had a little temporary power outage on the set, and I forgot to check my email during the broadcast. So I apologize to Greg and some other people who emailed in during the earlier broadcast, and I just forgot to check it. Okay, let's see if there are more comments here. Okay, I think I'm caught up with the comments. Patriot of Truth says, what's up with the tax vote? I don't know. I've been on the air, so I'm going to check that when I get off the air. But want to thank you all for being with us for this broadcast tonight. And if you did like the broadcast, if you like that we do a whole broadcast, what do we do, like an hour stream on this or something like that? If you see this reported, I bet I'd be surprised if it's on. I mean, Fox might do something on it. I don't know if CNN, I mean, CNN might, because Oliver Darcy reports for CNN. But even if you see the mainstream media do coverage of this, I bet it won't be that much, and it'll probably be like 4 minutes or something like that. So, but we did a whole stream on this. So if you liked it, we do a whole stream on this. You can support us because we are viewer supported. Your donations keep us on the air. So you can support us by going to the bottom of the YouTube chat and making a donation by clicking on the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat. Also, President Trump is having a rally. I don't know if you know this. He's having a rally in Florida, Pensacola, Florida, next Friday night at 7 p.m. I will be there. Maggie Howell will be there. Maybe some other folks from Right Side will be there. We're figuring that out right now. So we look forward to bringing that to you live. But of course, it does cost us a little to send people down there and bring our equipment down there and rent a car and everything. So if you want to support our going to the rally, you can also make a donation by clicking on the bottom of the YouTube chat and clicking on the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat. We'll have our normal all-day coverage where we go out several hours before the rally. We talk to people in line in Pensacola, Florida. Then we bring you all of the rally, all the speakers, and then we'll even have a post-show where we interview people in the crowd after the rally. So we very much look forward to bringing that to you from Pensacola, Florida. That is next Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, and our coverage will begin earlier. That's on Right Side Broadcasting. So so put that on your calendar if you want to watch it. If you don't put it on your calendar. But just wanted to let you know that that was happening. I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to the moderators so much. On the website, we got Common Sense and Glen O. On the YouTube chat, we got tonight Jude and JC. And who else was there? I think Real Frank was there before. Sorry if I'm forgetting people who were there earlier, because I know sometimes people come in and out. Thank you, people, for saying thanks in the chat room. We got Tom O'Neill. Kenneth Van is excited about the rally. Jabbery, Light Switch. 163 is excited about the rally. Ron Stahlcup says he's in Pensacola. Well, if you go to the rally, Ron, come up to us and say hi. Clifford Baines, Jason Thornton. Hey, Jason, are you going to be at the rally? You were at the Melbourne rally. You can hold the RSBN sign if you'd like. Donna Maria, thank you. Vice, thank you. Ruth Butler. User 812. P-Cell. Clifford Baines. And Sound Creation, LJ Jackson. LJ, thanks for your donation before. Explicit. Oh, and also, if you want to donate, but you're not watching this live, you can also donate at rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, and you can even get right side free stuff like this mug. Oops. By making a monthly donation at rsbn.tv/donate. You can see information about that there. And if you want Right Side gear, go to tpublic.com. tpublic.com. Once in a while we show this on the air. I forget to do it. But if you go to tpublic.com, see, here's tpublic. And if you go there, see, there's tpublic. Oops. Oh, 25% off everything. They're having a sale right now. So if you go and you type in RSBN, then you click here on this one, the middle one, that'll give you the most choices. You get all these options of different color t-shirts you can buy in different styles and everything. I like the extra soft version myself, but Jake prefers the regular version, and all this other gear and stuff and mugs and goodies and stickers and stuff. So you can get all that at TeePublic and search RSBN if you want it. You don't have to, but feel free. And subscribe to us on YouTube. Click the notifications bell so you get notified when we're coming on the air with our breaking news videos. Follow us on Facebook, Right Side Broadcasting. On Twitter, we are at RSB Network. I am on Twitter at Lookner. I post about breaking news all the time. So if you want to follow me on Twitter for breaking news, follow me at Lookner, at Lookner. And that is the broadcast for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, for being with us, for all the links and the comments you sent and everything. Really appreciate it. And that's it for right now. So hope you have a great night and a great weekend. If and when there's news this weekend, we will definitely be back on the air to cover it for you. But for now, I am Steve Lookner. From everyone here at Right Side Broadcasting, have a great night, and we'll see you soon.